I found out I'd been erased from my own company while standing in line at the grocery store, buying instant noodles and the cheapest coffee I could find. The TV over the checkout lane was playing one of those morning shows. Hosts too cheerful, graphics too shiny. I wasn't paying attention until I heard the name. Today we're talking to tech prodigy Liam Park, the brilliant founder of the new productivity app everyone's downloading. My stomach dropped. Our app, our code, our late nights, our arguments over button colors, our dream. Except on the screen, there was only Liam. No mention of a co-founder. No, and his longtime friend and partner, Jonah Reyes. Just Liam in a blazer I'd never seen, laughing like he'd invented the concept of hard work. The host leaned forward. "You built this all by yourself?" "Yeah," he said, with that fake, modest smile I knew too well. It was a solo grind. A lot of people didn't believe in me, but I pushed through. Someone behind me sighed. Must be nice being a genius like that. The cashier scanned my noodles. My ears were ringing. I didn't remember walking home. I just knew that by the time I opened my apartment door, a shoebox that smelled faintly like old takeout and disappointment, my hands were shaking. I pulled up the website. There it was, our logo, our features, our tagline, his name, not mine. Liam and I had been building things since we were kids. He built cardboard forts and took credit. I built the structural support and tried not to mind. In high school, teachers said, "Liam, you're such a leader." When he presented group projects that I'd mostly done, he'd clap me on the back afterward. "Couldn't have done it without you, man. Couldn't have. Didn't say it." When I dropped out of college to help my mom after dad died, it was Liam who said, "You're wasting your talent, Jonah. Let's start something." That something became Focus Fox, an app that helped freelancers track tasks without turning their life into a spreadsheet. I wrote the backend. I designed the database. When we needed money, I took on freelance work while Liam pitched investors. "I'm the face, you're the brain," he'd say. "We're unstoppable." I believed him. We were equal partners, fully 50-50. At least that's what he always promised. "We'll fix the paperwork later," he said when I asked about formal incorporation. "You know I've got you." I did know, or thought I did. So when his uncle wrote us a check to get things off the ground, and Liam suggested putting the company temporarily under his name for tax reasons, I nodded, embarrassed I didn't understand and trusting that he did. I was too busy debugging our sync function at 3 a.m. to read the fine print. The first crack came small. He started saying "my app" instead of "our app" in calls. "That's just for investors," he told me. "They like a single hero story. Don't worry, you're still co-founder where it counts." "Where does it count?" I asked. "In my heart," he said, grinning. I laughed because the alternative was noticing the twist in my gut. Then came the money talk. "We can't both go full-time yet," he said, pacing our tiny co-working space. "You know my uncle's funding is limited. It makes sense for me to focus on this while you keep freelancing." "You mean I should keep paying my rent and half the office fees?" I said slowly. "While you get a salary from the uncle money?" He winced. "Don't make it sound like that. You know I need to show I'm all in. Investors love that. Once we land a real round, we'll back pay you. I promise." I nodded like a good partner. I should have run then. The betrayal wasn't dramatic. No slammed doors, no shouting match. Just a slow, quiet suffocation. First, my access to the company email was temporarily removed because we're restructuring. Then my name disappeared from the website's About section. "Just simplifying," Liam said. "Less clutter, clean messaging." When I pushed back harder, he pulled out the kill shot. "Look, Jonah," he said one night, eyes tired, voice even. "You're brilliant, but you're not a finisher. You bail when things get hard. You did it with college, with band, with your last job. I can't risk this, okay?" Focus Fox needs someone who won't crumble. I had dropped out to take my father to chemo. I had quit the band when Mom called crying because she couldn't pay the gas bill. I opened my mouth to say all of that. Nothing came out. He took my silence for agreement. "It's better this way," he said. "You can still do some contract work for us. I'll make sure you're taken care of. Taken care of, like a pet." The next week, my GitHub access was cut off by mistake. Then the server credentials changed. When I confronted him, he shrugged. "You've got backups, right? You always do." he said. He wasn't wrong. I backed up everything. Not out of paranoia, out of habit, out of fear of messing up and losing something important. Turned out that fear was the one useful thing about me. Because when the investors came in and he decided I was dead weight, he forgot one simple fact. Dead weight can still pull a plug. For 2 months after he pushed me out, I drifted. I watched Focus Fox climb the App Store charts. I watched Liam's face appear in articles about bootstrapped solo founders. I watched my bank account shrink. Mom tried to be gentle. He wouldn't really cut you out, she said. No, maybe he's just overwhelmed. My sister was less diplomatic. He used you, she said flatly. Burn it down. I laughed weakly. Yeah, because arson is definitely on my to-do list. But at night, I lay awake replaying every conversation, every "we'll fix it later," every time he'd brushed off my questions about equity. I pulled up the incorporation documents he'd finally shared 6 months ago, the ones I hadn't really understood and pretended I had. Shareholder, Liam Park. Role, founder and CEO. Employees, none. Nowhere did my name appear. The pity I felt for myself curdled into something else. By the time the invitation arrived, an email with glossy graphics that said, Focus Fox 2.0 launch party, by invite only, my sadness had burned down enough to make room for something sharper. The email was a mistake. He'd forgotten to remove my address from the press list. Look at you, my sister said when I showed her. Life really just handed you a microphone. Here's the thing about revenge. It sounds cool. It feels awful. My hands shook as I dug through my old folders. I almost backed out a dozen times. The voice Liam had installed in my head kept whispering, "You're overreacting. You're being dramatic. You'll make things worse." But the folder named FF Backup Full said something else. It said, "You were there first." Inside were time-stamped code comments. Design drafts with my comments. Early prototypes with both our names in the file metadata. A video of us at 2 a.m. delirious and laughing over pizza saying, "When this blows up, we'll take mom to Greece." And there, more recent, his commit messages, copying whole functions I'd written, still bearing my original naming conventions, style, fingerprint. You don't need a law degree to know that if someone builds their castle on your bricks, they should probably at least invite you to live there. I didn't have money for a full legal assault, but I did have something almost as powerful, receipts, and an invite to a room full of investors, journalists, and the very people he'd lied to. The launch party was held in one of those warehouses that are technically still warehouses, but really just exist for people to drink near exposed brick. I wore the only blazer I owned, the one my mom had bought me for Dad's funeral. Felt appropriate. Liam was in his element. On stage, mic in hand, big smile. People told me I couldn't do this alone, he said, pacing like a TED Talk clone. But when you believe in yourself, like your co-founder believed in you, someone called from the crowd. The room tittered. He blinked. Sorry? I stepped forward, heads turned. A few people from the old co-working space recognized me. Priya's old friend from accounting gave me a wide-eyed nod. Hey, Liam, I said, loud enough to carry. Remember me? His smile flickered. Of course, man. Jonah. Everyone. This is an old friend. We started tinkering together back in the day. Tinkering, I repeated. Is that what we call building the original version of this app now? The silence that fell was almost kind. I'm not here to make a scene, I said, which was, of course, a lie. I just think your investors in the press should see how alone you really were when you built Focus Fox. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the projector. He'd left the system open, trusting or arrogant. Probably both. On the screen behind him, my screenshots appeared. First, a screen recording of the early repo, 2 names on the contributor list. Mine and his, mostly mine. Next, the incorporation document with only his name. Then the Slack messages, "We'll fix the equity paperwork later. You know I've got you. You don't need to be on the official docs yet." Someone near the front sucked in a breath. Liam stepped forward, eyes wild. This is out of context. Sure, I said. Let's add more context. I played the video from our 2 a.m. pizza, drunk on caffeine and hope. We're equal in this, right? My voice from the past said on the speakers. 50-50, his past self replied. Ride or die, man. The present version of him looked like he wanted to die. A hand went up in the audience. Some guy with a lanyard that screamed investor. Is there a reason? He asked slowly. Your cap table doesn't match what you just promised on that video? Another voice, this one from a journalist I followed on Twitter. Did you disclose this co-founder's contributions in your pitch deck? Liam's mouth opened and closed. I tried to handle this privately, I said, my voice shaking but audible. I asked for what I was owed. I got called dead weight and not a finisher. Meanwhile, my code is still running under that shiny UI you're all clapping for. I pointed at the logo. I'm not here to burn the company down, I added. People work here now. They don't deserve that. I just want credit and my share, and for the story to stop pretending I never existed. I looked at Liam. Tell them, I said, or I will, in a much uglier way, with lawyers, once I can afford them. For once, he didn't reach for a joke. He stared at the crowd, then at the screen, then at me. Then he said quietly, I didn't do this alone. The dam broke. Questions poured in. Someone from his new HR team pulled him aside, whispering. The investor with the lanyard gave me a card with a look that said, we should talk. I walked out before I could see the rest. My chest hurt, my hands shook. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like pulling glass out of your skin. Necessary, bloody, not glamorous. A week later, I got an email from the company's new lawyer. They offered me retroactive co-founder credit, a percentage of shares, and a public statement clarifying the origin story. It wasn't everything I deserved. It was more than I ever would have gotten by staying quiet. Mom cried when I told her. Your father would be so proud, she said. Not just for the app, Ma. For standing up for yourself. My sister fist bumped me. Told you, she said. Burn it down, just, legally. As for Liam, he sent a message that just said, I'm sorry. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't respond. Forgiveness, I've learned, is not the same as pretending nothing happened. He taught me that promises mean nothing without paper. I taught him that little people remember everything, especially the ones you call dead weight while standing on their shoulders.